It's no secret that strong American diplomacy is back. Other nations respect us again, and our adversaries are on notice. And Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is at the center of critical conversations underway to restore peace and stability around the globe. The real estate mogul turned diplomat has been instrumental in making progress in the Middle East. So I spoke with the Special Envoy about what it's like being at the table during those negotiations. Steve Witkoff, thank you so much for sitting down with me. You have been friends with President Trump for 30 years. I've known you for long enough to know you had a great life, and now you are involved in government, and you are the special envoy to the Middle East and also kind of de facto for Russia. Did you ever envision having a role like this?
Well, I never envisioned it. I don't know that anybody could, but I feel this really strong sense of responsibility to deliver, because that's what he does. He does that every day. Success is important to him, and so it's become it's very, very important to me.
Based on where we are right now, America's posture on the world stage, really in the past 6 months, has changed. Talk about how the international community is now viewing the United States right now under President Donald Trump versus how they did under Joe Biden.
They respect us, and I think that they didn't have that in the past. We hear that in all of our diplomatic efforts, that they didn't have a sense of respect for the other administration. The Middle Eastern visit that we made repeatedly in the state of Qatar, the Emirates, and Saudi Arabia, they were grateful for us. And, you know, the president is the world's policeman right now, and that's important because he's bringing order and stability to the world.
The Abraham Accords were among probably one of the most, if not the most significant achievements, I think a lot of people would argue, during the president's first term in office. And there's been talk of other countries potentially joining the Abraham Accords, which would be incredible for peace in the Middle East. What can you tell us about progress towards that and overall progress towards peace in that region?
First, it means so much to you, to your father-in-law, to the president. This is something that he really cares about passionately, because I think he feels that he's going to be able to stitch together so much more as more countries come in. Azerbaijan and Armenia is on the verge of being settled. Look at what's happening in Syria. I know there's been a flare-up recently, but that's already on the road towards compromise and settlement. So I think that the Abraham Peace Accords are going to expand. Wouldn't surprise me if at the end of this year we have 6 to 10 more countries in there.
Wow, that's incredible. You've played such a pivotal role in so many of these big negotiations thus far. You have negotiated with dictators, you've negotiated with terrorist organizations. What's that like?
A good deal is one that works for both sides. And so it's understanding who the other party is and then figuring out what it is that they need to get to where President Trump wants them to get to. And I call myself an emissary, Lara. I am an emissary of the president. He sets the policy. It's now for me to go out there and figure out a way to bring the two sides together. I wish that every day was successful, but these are complicated deals. But Hamas, which has lingered just a drop, now is coming together. I think Iran will come together. I think Russia, Ukraine will come together. Armenia and Azerbaijan is a conflict that's gone on for 30 years. And we're on a path towards a real peace treaty between these two countries. There are some big things happening. Everybody understands that's the policy prescription. And they respect that. And we have a better stature in the world today because of it. You
know, you talk about Hamas. I think that there are so many people who are hopeful that we see that conflict end. And the president has talked about his plans for after that conflict is over. Is there anything you can expand on with that?
I think he has a strong appreciation for not failing in any way in the reconstruction of Gaza, that it is an important development and that it's got to be done correctly, not just because these are people who will live in close proximity to Israel, but I think in large part because the Gazan people need to have something done correctly for them. That's what is going to bring that whole region together. And that's the flashpoint, that region in the world today.
Let me ask you about Mark Fogel. You were very instrumental in securing his release. He was held in a Russian prison for 3.5 years. Tell me about how that prisoner exchange actually became a reality.
The president asked me, as part of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, to begin an interchange with President Putin. And so I went there 4 times, met with him. We talked to him about this gentleman, Mark Fogel, who was imprisoned. And President Putin was receptive to this release. And up until the point that we had him at the airport, we did not know what was going to happen, Lara. It involves somebody being released from a U.S. prison, somebody who had some difficulty as to whether he wanted to go back or not. And so we were not sure that the Fogel release would physically happen. But we got him at the FBO, got on the plane. It was a snowy night. They were de-icing the plane, and we thought, who knows, maybe it's a ruse, maybe we weren't really going to get him. And we cleared Russian airspace, and he was jumping around the plane like, I don't know, like the happiest man on the earth. And then we brought Mark that night, draped in an American flag, to the White House, where the president had waited for him so he could greet him. The president was nothing short of amazing, and Mark Fogel was so deeply grateful. And I thought to myself, how lucky am I that I got to play a small part in this? So it was an epic moment in my life.
You look at the Biden administration, they paid Iran $6 billion, right, to release hostages. You're not paying for that. You are going there yourself. You're talking directly with people like Vladimir Putin, and you're able to impact people's lives.
Well, President Trump is setting the table. That is a fact. And that's not false modesty. Without him, none of this happens. Without him, Mark Fogel does not get home. Without him, those hostages don't get home. And we're working on a whole lot of other things together, and it's, you know, Donald Trump sets the table, and then we go and enact, and hopefully we do a good job in enacting his policies. But it is changing lives.
And you were actually famously with the president down at the golf course in West Palm when there was an attempted assassination. You've been with this president through a lot of important moments, but that must have been kind of surreal.
I'll tell you the most important moment I can remember. The first thing that the president said to me is, "Are you okay?" And he went around the room to every single agent there, the sheriff's people who were there, and anybody, the caddies who were out there. And all he wanted to know was how everybody was doing. It was not about himself. It was all about, he's always like that. I like to tell those stories because I don't think people know him in that way that I do. I think sometimes he doesn't even want to admit that he's got that soft patch. Like maybe it reduces his leverage, but he's got it.
This has only been 6 months, Steve. What are your hopes to happen over the next 3.5 years? What would be a great way to end your tenure as special envoy?
That we solve Russia-Ukraine and we get that peace deal, because it should happen. It's the war that the president is right, that should have never happened. I think we get that solved. Hopefully, that'll be a big moment. I think if we expand the Abraham Peace Accords, if we get a peace, a lasting peace in Gaza, if we figure out long-term peace in the Middle East, if we normalize with the state of Israel, I think that will be a crowning achievement. And then I think your father-in-law ought to get what he deserved the last time around. He ought to get the Nobel Peace Prize, but not just for one effort, for all of the effort. That's how important and relevant it is.
Couldn't agree with you more. Well, we will stay tuned to all the work that you're doing and all the work, of course, this administration is doing. So, Steve Witkoff, thank you so much.
Thanks, Lara. My pleasure.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.